fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The brittle, foreign soil stretched endlessly, broken by jagged rocks and low ridges. The sky hung overhead with an orange hue, thin and dusty, the sun barely peeking through. Moving my legs in awe at the new bounce in my step, I took a deep breath. I had already veiled myself in a small circle of breathable air before arriving here, but I could still smell it, the scent of iron. It was deathly quiet, unlike the bustle of the citadel back on Earth. No winds to hear, no insects, no birds, just a heavy silence draped all over. I couldn't stop myself from grinning, leaping higher and higher before bolting into a full sprint. Summoning a gale of wind, I launched myself upwards into the air, observing the giant crater I had stood in the middle of from above. Then I noticed the silhouette of a giant wall in the distance. Despite being thousands of meters above the ground, I still couldn't make out its peak. The hazy wall curved around the horizon. I had heard that there were mountains on this planet far taller than the Himalayas. Perhaps that thing far away was merely the cliff face of such a behemoth. With newfound resolve and an untamed curiosity, I prepared to dash towards it. However, the mountains noticed me first. Eyes pulled wide open, I gazed at the approaching beast, the rugged details of the wall's outer skin slowly revealing themselves through the fog of Martian dust. It was fast, unsurmountable, only growing bigger with each second. What the fuck is that? I blinked. Then I was back on the ground. The looming thing in the distance disappeared, replaced by empty land. I was familiar with this feeling. It was a teleportation spell. However, I hadn't been the one who activated it. You have a death wish or something. I turned around to the source of the raspy voice, who then chuckled at her own question. Yeah, right, anyone who came here probably does have one. A lanky, slightly hunched woman spoke, combing her long, silver-streaked dark hair with surprisingly clean fingers. Her pale skin and weathered face, combined with the single, threadbare set of utilitarian robes covering her, suggested she had long dwelled in these plains. What amused me more, however, was the fact that there was a human here. Who are you? Instead of answering my query, the woman raised a brow. Hold on, you look awfully young, and what's with those clothes of yours? I bit my lip. I'm a student from the Academy of Magical Arts. Kinda. What? She leaned closer incredulously. You a mage student? Yeah, I stole a grimoire from the forbidden section of the campus library because I wanted to test out the Boundless teleportation rumor. However, I wasn't really expecting it to work. I quickly grabbed my mouth. I was supposed to keep this all a secret. However, it was as if the words had been reeled out from the depths of my mind without my consent. I observed a faint glint in the old woman's cloudy eyes. Did she just use magic on me? Was she a mage as well? No, of course she was. Otherwise, how did she even get here? I noticed the agape woman seemed to be holding something akin to a piece of eaten meat. Then my brows raised higher. What I had assumed to be a small knoll a few feet behind the woman wasn't that. Rather, it seemed fleshy, warm, the carcass of a creature I had never seen before. Discerning my pale reaction, she quickly explained, "That's a fleshmire beast. They are common around these parts and the easiest to hunt." A flesh what? I frowned. They feed on almost anything and frequently undergo mitosis, hence their large population. I shook my head. Mitosis, a thing that size, and why have I never heard of it before? Because you are not supposed to, the woman answered, seemingly reading my mind. The archmages from your planet are responsible for bringing them here. Any creature like that one poses a serious threat to humanity, so they are teleported far away. Instead of trying to kill the nightmarish beings, the mages imprison them on entirely different planets. Quite smart, if I say so myself. A cold chill crawled up my spine. That behemoth of a beast that you saw earlier was also one of those creatures. Can you imagine such a being back on Earth? Our species wouldn't last a day. Pausing, she scratched her head with a grimace. It's also why the fact that teleportation doesn't actually have a range limit ought to be kept hidden, but curious people like us just find a way, I guess. Her last sentence piqued my interest, like us. She scrunched her brows and continued in a somber tone. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring mana stones with me, been stuck here for decades since. She lowered her head. Please tell me you brought some with you, right? Mana on Mars is too sparse for extremely long-ranged spells. You won't be able to go back home otherwise. Fortunately, I did bring some, but just enough to teleport back *1 person. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to meet someone else. Otherwise, you would have brought a box of it. Again with that mind shenanigans. Can you stop that? It feels disturbing. The aged lady slapped her scrawny thigh, bursting into a loud laugh. Oh, don't worry, young one, I'm not gonna steal your precious stone. She wiped her eyes. I'm just simply glad I finally found another human, let alone someone smart enough to bring an extra stone with them. I silently nodded back with a frown. Well, now that I have told you everything, if you don't mind, could you help me? I will, I said, surprised by my lack of hesitation. Just give me some time. I will come back with a box of them, I promise. A soft smile tugged the old woman's lips, and her vacant eyes glimmered. Seeing her in such a forlorn state caused me to grab my aching chest. She must have been so lonely. I have to save her. Thank you very much, young man, she tipped her head. Pulling out the stone from my robe, I then whispered the spell, and a slow blink later the empty landscape was gone, replaced by a group of men in robes. The moment I arrived, my hands were tied behind my back, my chin raised by the end of another mage's staff. It all happened too quickly. I recognized I was back in my dorm room, but it was filled with high-ranking mages, their scowls piercing me from all sides. And then someone familiar stepped inside, the school's principal. Without wasting a second, she slapped me across the face with the hefty grimoire that I had stolen, screaming at me for breaking campus rules and yelling about how I just committed a crime against the country. But none of that mattered, not now. Please, I slammed my head onto her feet. Take me to jail if you want, but right now, as we speak, there is someone like me abandoned on Mars. She didn't bring a stone with her, so she has been stranded there for decades. I looked up at her stern face with pleading eyes. Just let me save her, please, or if any one of you can, that's fine too, but just bring her back. The principal sighed. After a long exchange of glances, she gestured to everyone else to leave the room, then crouched to meet my level of gaze. Do you know why we are supposed to keep all of this a secret? To keep humanity safe from dangerous creatures, I exclaimed. I know, the woman told me everything. She scowled. These potential threats include humans too, especially powerful ones. The woman you spoke of, was she a mage as well? I lingered for a moment, hesitating to nod. And she somehow survived there, amongst creatures that even the archmages had a hard time killing. My throat ran dry, a complex mixture of emotions sweltered inside of me. Sounds to me like this prisoner tried to get on your good side to gain sympathy, hoping you would help her escape. She wasn't a prisoner, I retorted. She was like me, she got curious and... So this powerful mage, capable of killing nightmarish creatures, wasn't cautious enough to bring a mana stone with them, while a mere student like you was. I staggered, she wasn't lying. If so, then why didn't she just steal the stone from me? She could have easily done that, but no, she waited, I said, and she is still waiting. Glancing away for a moment, she then looked back at me with cold indifference. Perhaps she was certain you would help her out either way. I opened my mouth, then paused. She did have a strange affinity for mind spells, constantly reading my thoughts. Even so. It's wrong, I claimed. It's wrong to arrest someone just because she can do something. She hasn't done anything yet to deserve it. My voice wavered, right. Some have, some haven't. Regardless, they could destroy Earth if they chose to, and that makes them dangerous. Then what about me? I glared back. Now that I know this grave secret, will you send me away as well? Her void stare dug deep into my soul, the air heavy with silence for what felt like an eternity. Don't worry, you aren't nearly powerful enough to pose a threat. She got up, not yet, and retreated the grimoire into her robe. Although I promise you this, the next time you go to Mars, I will make sure you stay there. Days passed, and each day was accompanied with another torturous training regimen. It was supposed to be a punishment for the grave crime I had committed, yet in reality, I was simply growing stronger. My principal, Vivian, was a hard woman. She took no complaints but was surprisingly patient and would even stay longer after training sessions to share a tip or two. She was a tough instructor, but there was no doubt she cared for me in some way, shape, or form. With newfound strength, I had begun to harbor new wishes, too. I wanted to see her again. The woman on Mars, the principal, I didn't know why, but I felt like I needed to see them again. I decided. The following day, after grueling training sessions, I snuck into Vivian's office. After a few moments of searching, I finally found it. The grimoire that told the secret to boundless teleportation. As I opened the ancient book, I muttered the ancient spell. The world then blurred to orange. I failed. Instead of Mars, I was in the headmaster's office. "Do you know why you are here?" Vivian said sternly. I wanted to visit her, I whispered, unable to meet her piercing gaze. "You idiot." I know. Vivian sighed, getting up from her desk, and then proceeded to stroke my head. "Don't worry," she mumbled. "I have a feeling she will visit us soon enough." I shot my head up, eyes wide. A few days ago, a behemoth emerged in the middle of the Sahara Desert. That monster must have done something to the planet's mana to allow her to teleport here. Either way, we have to be ready. The room was silent as the weight of the impending threat crushed me. Vivian then smirked. "We will leave tomorrow, just the two of us." I smiled back. "I promise I will protect you." Vivian then turned around and glanced out the window. "I trust you."